The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone!
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me. Do you think that you could repeat the question? And I listened more attentively. There must have been something in all of that nothing that wasn't quite so easy to see.
The monitor's off.
And I must have missed something when you were just talking to me.
Good job, Chrissy. Like, what are you pointing at?
I don't know, I just like to randomly do this.
I thought it was on and you were pointing at something else. And I'm like, yeah, I got it. Relax.
Thanks for coming, kids. Good night. How the hell did it get 81 degrees out all of a sudden?
I don't know, but I like it.
The temperatures are like Powerball.
Yeah.
64, 3, 81.
Because it's going to drop. I was like, yeah, spring is like finally here. And they're like, no, it's going to drop again. No.
I gotta dig out all my summer clothes. I'm still used to layering. I had three shirts on when I left the house.
I know. Look, you can see my ankles today. Oh, how risque. All right.
4 bars.
I'm not mad at it. I stepped out completely. I'm using them now to test how well your health is doing. The bash is over. He can get the papas in again.
I know, right? I'm still recovering.
I can tell.
I've got to be honest. It's just so much work. It takes so much out of you. Facebook's acting like a little bitch today.
It does that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
It's a lifetime movie of the week starring you and I.
3 bars.
Yeah, I help you out.
I think we're up online. I'm still checking.
I mean, yeah, we are. I didn't know that's what you were checking. I'm like, I can tell you we're online. It's my job.
No, I mean, like, usually I share it from the Valley Patriot page to my page.
Yep.
And then I got to check my page to make sure Facebook did it right. Because Facebook sucks. I got nothing. Thanks for coming, kids.
Well, the song's nearly done. You better.
I know, right?
Except it has the secret.
All right,
bit.
how you guys doing? My name's Tom Duggan here at the Paying Attention Podcast. Although I'm not sure why. Hi, Top. 2 guys smoke shop at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. I almost took today off today because I really don't have a whole lot to talk about. So I don't want to discourage people from watching, but I did have a quick conversation this morning with Karina Papalato over at Daybreak. And she's the head of the psychological center, but there's like so many different programs, and the one that I work with the most is Daybreak, so I always say she's from Daybreak. But she's actually the head of the Greater Lawrence Psychological Center, and they're running a Kentucky Derby fundraiser for Daybreak and for the Psychological Center and all the little programs that they have, Women's View and Pegasus House, and I am going to ask, because we have somebody zooming in to talk about this, I am going to ask when they're going to have one for men. Because, being the kind of guy that I am, I'm always looking to go the other way. And they have, like, Women's View, Pegasus House for women. And I'm like, okay, well, when are they going to have one, like, for men? That's,
I mean, the homeless shelter's for everybody. Daybreak,
right? For everybody, right.
And the
Women's View is obviously for women.
Pegasus House, I think, is for either.
It is?
Residential Treatment and Recovery Service Program for transitional aged youth and young adults. It doesn't specify.
All right,
male or
okay,
female.
very good. All right.
Yeah, but I'm sure she can clear more of that up than I can. I'm just reading off the internet.
Right. And I'm just going to give them a hard time about it because that's kind of like what I do.
Yeah, I know.
So I want to thank our sponsors because sometimes I forget at the top of the show to do that. So let's get that done right now. McLennan Real Estate, Century 21. Definitely time to have Matt come back in. I see all kinds of stuff going on in the real estate pages. In the Valley Patriot, we print the Register of Deeds. Paul Anicello sends us all of the foreclosure notices and sales, property sales from the month before, and we print them every month. And it's usually 3 pages. We usually do 3 pages of all the sales because we cover North Andover, Lawrence, and Methuen. Andover, North Andover, Lawrence, and Methuen. And for the last couple of months, we've only been doing about a page. In fact, I think this month we have like a page and a half. So we got to get Matt to come back in and talk about some of the real estate stuff. Zany Pesci Law Offices. Want to say hi to Vinny over at the Zany Pesci Law. That guy is so stressed. We got to bring him out we should bring him out to Tomo's or something and get him a drink. Seems like a very stressed guy, you know. And he shouldn't be. Like, you've seen his wife, right? Like, if I was married to that, I wouldn't have 1 minute of stress left in my life because I'd also never leave the house. Zanny Peshiloffs, and then the Marsan and Son Construction. I want to thank Ronnie Marsan, who he called me on Monday, and he said, Tom, I still got to give you a check for the scholarship donation that I pledged. And I looked on my sheet, and I had him logged in as paid. So I said, no, you're all set. You paid. And he said, no, you must have made a mistake. I did not pay you. Now, I don't know. How many people would do that? If someone called you and said, no, don't pay your electric bill, you're all paid. And even though you know you didn't pay, most people would go, okay, fine, right? They throw their hands up and take the win. But Ronnie Marsan, such a great guy, such a moral person. And this is one of the reasons why I like to surround myself with people like Ronnie. He's like, no, Tom, you definitely made a mistake. I absolutely did not pay you. And then he met with me and he gave us the money that he pledged. And I spent an hour and a half trying to figure out why I had him logged in as paid when he hadn't paid. But what a great guy to say, no, I'm still giving you the money. I haven't paid you. Most people would go, oh, I paid you? Okay, fine. So thank you, Ronnie, for that. That just kind of says a lot about what kind of a person you are. Boy, I hope that guy runs again. I hope he runs either in the East End or for mayor or something, because to have somebody like that in elected office, I miss that in Methuen. Like we've got Jessica and we've got Eunice, and pretty much that's it. I know I'm going to get crap from all the others to say, oh, you didn't mention me, but for the most part, you don't have a lot of people in Methuen in politics like that. Also want to thank EIS Investigation and Gun Training, Borelli's Deli. I haven't been there in 3 weeks, so today I'm going right after the show and I'm stocking up. Tomo and Shaken Seafood, Clear Path for Veterans New England. Just want to let everybody know the veteran that we got in to rehab last Thursday morning. I got a call yesterday from Yanitza over at Clear Path for Veteran. He's still in rehab and he's doing well. So I know that when he gets out, they're going to have an apartment for him. They're helping him try to find a job. And his name is Jeff. And when he gets out and they get him into an apartment and they get him a job, we're going to actually write a story about how Clear Path took this guy off the street and put him in rehab and changed his life. And I think that's going to be a pretty nice story. The Mercurio Law Office, we love Doug Mercurio, who I haven't billed in the last month and a half. But I haven't forgotten you, Doug, so don't worry. And we want to thank Doug for sponsoring the show and for advertising. AFC Urgent Care, love Lisa Williams. She came to the bash. She gave us $2,000 for our scholarships. And she brought her husband, and she brought her son, and she brought her daughter. And they were like the last people to leave. They were with us. Like they were like one of the last people to leave. So we appreciate Lisa and everything that they do. And I am working on your billboard. She's trying to find a billboard in Lawrence or a space to put up a billboard. And I am. If Octavian would ever actually call me back when he's supposed to, this would already be done. But for some reason, I've got to chase this guy At election time, I didn't have to chase anybody down. At election time, I sent somebody a text. They were in my office in 5 minutes saying, oh, okay, I'm here. What do you need? But now that the election's over, I got to chase people. So Octavian, let's pick it up a little bit. And who else do we have? And a free shout out for JG's Ice Cream and also Pleasant Valley Landscaping. I talked to Dave Idconsoli the night of the bash. He says they're not looking for any more help, but they are taking on new jobs. So if you need landscaping, somebody asked me on Facebook the other day, if I knew a good landscaper and I steered them over to Dave Idconsoli. We love that guy, and I hope that guy runs for office. Boy, to have somebody like that in office, somebody who just kind of calls it like it is and doesn't play the manipulative political games, that would be great to have a guy like that. And so do we forget anybody else? No. And a free shout out also to Dawn at Dawn Sign Tech. I haven't had a chance to have lunch with her in the last month or so. We usually do like a once a month thing. So what?
I was just looking at the comments. I'm going to get Karina, said that Pegasus House is for females 18 to 25 years old. We would love to open a men's program, but need to raise money to open one. Let's get it done together.
Oh, all right. Well, then we need to go to
back.
Sal's and get some lunch. And,
there we go.
I do all of my business at Sal's now. That's like my new out of office. We go to Salvatore's because A, the food is great. B, the environment is awesome. And the people who work there are just so incredible. Like, you order food and then you stay for 2 hours and they're not trying to rush you out the door like most restaurants. So I like that. Right. Do we have our guest on the line?
Yeah,
is that what I'm
she's just waiting in the green room till we're done with the sponsors.
Outstanding. And did we put out like some good like hors d'oeuvres and stuff for her in the green room?
Yeah, virtual.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Very, very good. We have on the line. So we were chatting just a little bit at the beginning of the show about Daybreak and Pegasus. I love Daybreak. I haven't really spent a lot of time over at Women's View or Pegasus House, mostly because it's for women, and it's usually like women who've got like restraining orders and stuff, and they kind of have, had some negative experiences with men. So I think I went in there once, and somebody was like, "Hey, they're not used to guys coming in here." So I've kind of like I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but at some point I will go down there and we'll write a nice story about that. But on the line, I believe we have please correct me if I get it wrong. Is it Liz Bakinowski?
You got it correct. Well done.
How about that? On the first try, that doesn't happen too often. So, Liz, you're the Director of Development for the Psychological Center, and you guys have this big fundraiser coming up, and we want to help you guys promote it because you guys do great work in the community. Why don't you tell people what you guys are up to?
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you having us on. We're really excited for this event. This is our first big in-person fundraising event since prior to COVID. We haven't had a Kentucky Derby fundraiser since 2019, so we are just so excited to be able to be hosting this again, this year. So it's going to be on May 6th. It's at the Haverhill Country Club at 5:30. We have tickets on sale through Eventbrite. And then it's just gonna be a really fun event. It's not one of those fundraisers, where people are just doing speeches the whole time. As important and great as those are, this one is, you get really involved. We have games, we have contests. We're gonna have best dress contests. We're gonna have some professional dancers actually teaching some dances to the guests. We'll have a great buffet, with Southern fare. Food items. We'll be watching the Derby as well, since it is on the day of the Derby. So it's just a really, fun, interactive event, for the community.
And that's May 6th. That's on a Saturday?
Correct. Yep, Saturday.
So how do people, if people want to sponsor the event, because you guys are looking for sponsors too, right? Like that's how you guys help pay your expenses.
Yep. So we are definitely still looking for sponsors. We're also looking for donations of raffle items, gift cards, and we have a couple large item donations that we're still looking for, and these will be for the auction. So we're looking for a scratch ticket basket, so just a bunch of scratch tickets between $500 and $1,000. Any sports tickets, if people have season tickets to any of the local teams. If they can't commit to a date now, as long as they can commit to providing the tickets, that would be great. So any Celtics, Patriots, Bruins would be great. And then as far as sponsorship goes, we have a number of different sponsorship levels. We have one for $500. We have one for $1,500, one for $3,000, and one for $5,000. So, we certainly are still looking for sponsors. Each level, comes with, we can provide different things. Tickets are included in the first 3 levels, as well as some marketing and things like that. And I can certainly provide more information, if anyone wants to directly contact me.
So now, let's say you raise a bunch of money, and hopefully you do, and we're going to try and help you do that. Where does that money go? Talk to people about where they're how is their donation helping the community?
Absolutely. So all of the proceeds raised from this event will go towards helping our 3 programs. So we run Daybreak Shelter, which is a homeless shelter for adult men and women individuals and transitional age youth. It's located in Lawrence, Massachusetts. So we are always in need of support for that program. We also run Women's View and Pegasus House, and I know you spoke a little bit about it at the beginning. But those are both substance misuse disorder programs for women. Pegasus House is for women 18 to 24, and Women's View is for women 25 and older. And it's a 12-month program, so the women are there for an extended period of time, and we really like to be able to provide them with anything they need so that they can really focus on their recovery, on getting better, being able to get back into the community. So all proceeds will go towards those 3 programs and supporting.
Is that a live-in program? Do they stay there?
Yeah.
Or so it is. So they stay there.
Yep.
And so for that 1 year, you're really immersing them in all the things that they're going to need to try and prosper once they get out.
Exactly.
Outstanding. If you guys raise a lot of money, can you fix that pothole outside of Daybreak? Because it's killing my suspension every Wednesday night when we pull in.
Oh my gosh,
That would be
same.
great.
Same here. I know it's quite the hazard. We'll do the best we can.
All right. Okay. Very good.
But we're certainly, one thing we are really hoping to do in the next, in the upcoming years, COVID, we really had to kind of take a step back from the fundraising. We had so many other things to focus on. So we would really love to be able to move Daybreak to a larger building, to provide transitional housing as well. So that is one of our goals, in the upcoming future. So hopefully that's something that's on the horizon, and the proceeds from this event will go towards a lot of the things that we need for the immediate time at the programs, so then we can kind of use other fundraising efforts to go towards those bigger goals.
I know I've spoken with Mayor DePino a number of times about your need for a new facility, and I've also spoken with Estella Reyes and Francisco Polina, your state representatives, about that exact thing. And hopefully they're working with you guys on it. Sometimes I go in and we talk about these things, then they do things on their own and don't tell me what they're doing. But if you guys need any help with that, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to facilitate, helping you any way that I can. Can you talk a little bit in detail about the Daybreak? I know that a lot of people think it's just a homeless shelter, like where people go in, they sleep, and then they leave in the morning. But I know you guys have some really great programs associated with that to help people with learning about personal finances and helping them get jobs and things like that. Can you just talk about some of the things that are associated with Daybreak people may not know?
Absolutely. It's funny, we call Daybreak our hidden gem because, again, a lot of people, as you mentioned, don't know about all that we do at Daybreak. So, while it is a homeless shelter, we provide, food, we provide housing, for the people there. We provide so much more. So one of the things when somebody, arrives at the shelter, we kind of triage them. So we figure out what services they need. We figure out if they need, mental health services, if they need substance disorder, treatment services, if they need, obviously if they need to get a job, we'll support them with that. Housing is another huge thing. So we really try to, upon, them entering, figure out what supports they need. And then, from that point on, we really focus on providing them with those supports so that they are, really set up to succeed once they're able to leave the shelter. So there is no time limit, like amount of time that somebody can be in the shelter. It's however long it takes them to get either back on their feet, or stabilized in permanent housing. So we don't, kick somebody out after 30 days. So however long they need to be there, they're there for. We have an amazing housing manager who supports the guests there with, housing searches, with applying to, different programs, whether it be, a transitional housing program, subsidized housing, things like that. So she really supports the guests there in finding housing. We have, supports with jobs, job searching as well, and job placement training. One of the things I was I actually wrote a grant for recently was to expand our job our placement training there. So we'll see. Hopefully, we'll be able to expand that a bit in the future as well. And then we have case management as well. So we focus on if any of these guests need mental health treatment, if they need substance misuse disorder treatment, we really try to get those services provided to them as soon as possible so that they can really stabilize and be able to work towards, finding employment, finding a home, all those really important things that are the goals for all of the guests there.
And you guys also help people that are addicted get into treatment programs too.
Absolutely. So we're actually sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we're actually the only wet shelter in this area. So what that means is that we will not turn somebody away who comes in under the influence of drugs or alcohol. They cannot bring them onto the premises, but they are able to come in under the influence. Mm-hmm. And when that, when they come in, we obviously, don't send them away. We provide them with a safe place to stay for the time being. And we really try to get them into a detox program. So, or substance misuse disorder program. A lot of women who come in under the influence will go to one of our other programs. So whether it be Women's View or Pegasus House. And then if they need to come back to the shelter, we're able to provide them space at the shelter. So that's a huge component of what we do as well. Supporting individuals in their recovery that way.
How did you get involved in this? How did you, I was looking at your Facebook page right before we went on, and I saw you wearing a Veterans Northeast Outreach t-shirt. Yep. And I thought, gee, I wonder if she worked there.
I did. So it's funny you ask, because I just briefly heard you speaking about the veteran who you had just gotten into treatment. And you mentioned Yanitza, who is a former coworker of mine. And I just loved hearing that story. It was, that's really how I got into doing this work, was supporting veterans and supporting them in their recovery and housing. So I did work for VNOC. I was working for their SSVF program. So I was, assisting veterans finding housing and doing, kind of case management supportive services, as well as community outreach. And then I started really getting involved in fundraising there. And that's where I sort of found my love for fundraising, which brought me to where I am now.
Oh, that's great. I'm pretty good at fundraising too. We'll try and do what we can.
Definitely are.
We'll definitely try to help you out with that as much as we can. So you did you go to school for this? Is this something that you set out to do, or is it something you kind of fell into?
So I kind of fell into it. I did go to school. I have a degree in human services. So initially I was doing more direct care work, and I had planned on getting a master's in social work. And as I sort of got involved in more, direct care, kind of case management work, and also fundraising, I realized that I did have, as I mentioned, a love for fundraising, and, sort of the event planning, the reaching, community outreach kind of work. So, and it's funny because about, 15 years ago, when I was just starting my career, I thought about going into fundraising, and I actually kind of got a little scared off because I met with a director of development at one of the big universities, and they were, had a law degree and all these things, and I was like, oh, I'll never be able to do that, But here I am now. So it's always kind of been a dream in the back of my head, and I'm just, so grateful to be able to do this now. And Karina is just a wonderful, CEO and supporter and boss, to work for. So she's just been fabulous with supporting me in the work that we do.
That's great. So can you give some contact information if people want to donate, if they want to sponsor, if they just want to buy tickets? How much are the tickets to go?
So the tickets are $125 for one ticket, and then we're also selling tables for a discounted price of $1,100, and that's a table of 10.
Okay. All right, great. And how do they contact you guys for? Can you sponsor on the Eventbrite page, or is that just for tickets?
That would just be for tickets, but if they are interested in sponsoring, they can reach out directly to me, and I can provide them with any of the information that they need for that. So the best way to contact me is my email. And I apologize to everybody. It's very long. I'll spell it out. It's liz.bakinowski@psychologicalcenter.com. So that's liz.bakinowski@psychologicalcenter.com.
Nice Irish name.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
All right. I just put that in the comments so people can email you out. Is there anything else you wanna impart on with our viewers as far as what you guys are up to over there and how people can help? Are you looking for workers? Are you looking for? Is there other stuff that you guys need?
Absolutely. So We're always, with all of our programs being residential programs and with, our guests coming in with very little, if anything, we always are in need of donations of like hygiene products, socks, clothing donations, food donations. We provide 3 meals at all programs. So food is, even if a group of, a church group or a group of friends want to come in and cook dinner at Daybreak Shelter, we always love to have that. We love people from the community getting involved, coming and seeing what we do, in person. So we really love when people do that. If you want to donate time as a volunteer, we're always looking for volunteers for various things. And, also a great way to get involved is to obviously, come to this event that we're having. It's, again, you can hear a little bit about what we do, have a lot of fun, and it should be a really good time.
Well, that sounds great. I'm so glad to have had you with us today. And I'm going to be there if I can, and then most likely I will be able to because it's a Saturday and it's not 10 a.m. in the morning, right? Well, by the way, what time does it start?
5:30.
In the evening.
Correct. 5:30 in the evening. Yep.
Right. You had me at evening. I'm not a morning person, as you know.
Liz, I feel ya.
Liz, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully we'll have you on again. Maybe we'll have you and Karina come into the podcast some afternoon and go over some more, details about what you guys do and maybe tell some great stories. Maybe even bring somebody in that, success story that you guys have been working with.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. One thing we really do love to share the stories of our guests here. It's when people, can hear where that, the money and the donations are really going to. I think it makes such a huge impact. So we would love to do that. And we can't tell you how much we appreciate your support with everything. And thank you so much for having me on today.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And if there's a restaurant or a food place out there that wants to do something good for the community, and you want to go to Daybreak and donate, some food for them for their dinner or for lunch or whatever, please reach out to them. Or if you're on my page, just reach out to me and I'll steer you guys to the Daybreak or the Psychological Center or Pegasus House or Women's View. Is there another one? Is it just the 3?
Just the 3, correct?
Okay,
Yep.
all right. For some reason, I thought there was another one in there. Well, Liz, thank you so much for coming on, and thank Karina for setting this up on such short notice.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Thank you, Liz. All right. That was pretty good. I love Daybreak. Yeah. I love Daybreak. And, I was working with them, a little bit here and there whenever we found somebody on the street that needed something, and I'd go over to Karina and she'd help out. But I really gained like my, the level of respect that I have now really came when we found this guy, Louis Rosalie, on the street at like 2:00 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And we thought he was dead. And he was just laying on the ground, like in the middle of Broadway. And, he was just sleeping. Like, we didn't know. Like, we tried to wake him up. We couldn't wake him up. And then after a few minutes, he woke up. And it turned out the guy was just exhausted from walking around all the time. And he wasn't from Lawrence. And I said, what are you doing laying on the street? There's a homeless shelter literally 1.5 blocks from here. He didn't know because he wasn't from the area. And I called Karina at 2 a.m. And she called over there, and even though they were full, they took him in and they found a spot for him. And that was the day that I said, you know what, no matter what they need, I'm going to be there to try and help them out because, I'm a late night guy. I'm out late at night, 2, 3, 4 in the morning sometimes. And most people don't answer their phone at that time. And I hesitate to even call people at that time because most people are sleeping. But Karina was in bed, and she took the call. And then she not only took the call, but she didn't say, okay, call me in the morning, and rolled over and went back to sleep. She called over there and made sure that they had room. And then there was a couple of times where Louis kind of fell off the wagon and didn't show back up. And I called her a couple times and said, I found Louis. Can we get him back in? And she said, well, we really shouldn't because he didn't show up. But you know what? Bring him down and we'll take care of him. So I love you, Karina, for that. And, there's been numerous other things, too, that have happened since then. But that was, to me, that was the day that I was like, I had always had a respect for what they do over there, and I always liked Karina. But the day that happened, I was like, you know what? This is somebody who's part of the Valley Patriot family. Just like when I call Randy at 3 a.m. and he's in friggin' Vermont and he drives down to help a veteran. So that's always great. So we got about 10 minutes left. I want to thank our sponsors one more time because we sometimes go through a whole show without thanking them.
As I say, I think we might have missed them last week.
Right, yeah. McLennan Real Estate, Century 21. JG's Ice Cream. I am going to definitely grab a frap on my way home today before I stop at Borelli's. Pleasant Valley Landscaping, Mercurio Law Office. I love Doug Mercurio. He's a good guy. AFC Urgent Care, Clear Path for Veterans, New England. And they were at TMF last night, which was really nice. They came all the way up from, I think their home base is in Devons, and they came all the way up from Devons for TMF. Tomo and Shaken Seafood, Borelli's Deli, who I said, EIS Investigation and Gun Training, Marston and Son Construction, the Zany Pesci Law Office, and McLennan Real Estate. We also got to get Paul Lambert in here too. I'm going to bring in an ad for Paul because he's been increasing his ad buys with us, and we want to throw him a free sponsorship on the show to thank him for that. So we haven't talked politics in a while. We haven't gotten to any the local stuff because of the bash and because of all the things going on. But while we were away, while we were doing bash stuff and not paying that much attention to what's going on in Methuen, we had a few things happen. We only have 8 minutes, so I'm not going to talk extensively about it. But I want to play this video for you. This was posted. Well, I'm going to say it was posted at least it says 2 weeks ago, but I don't think it was 2 weeks. I think it was like a week and a half ago. Neil Perry. I don't know who advised him to do this. And, I'm not a big fan of Neil, but I do wish him well, and I want him to get better. I don't know who advised him to do this, but, boy, that person should be fired immediately because, let's just play it, and then we'll talk about it.
Hello, Methuen. It's Mayor Neil Perry. And, oh, boy, has it been a long time since I've talked to you. As many of you may or may not know, I'm here in rehab hospital based on an experience that happened to me during a routine dialysis appointment. But the good news is I'm on the mend, and I'm working on these legs to get them back in shape. I just wanted to say thank you to all the elected officials and department leaders who picked up the slack in my absence. But I'm thrilled to tell you tonight that I'm back to work remotely and addressing the city's issues day to day. And boy, does it feel good to do so. If you haven't talked to me, or if you've got something that you need to talk to me about, feel free to email me or contact City Hall. I also wanted to thank all the well-wishers who reached out and uplifted me with their messages. I'm going to close by saying, while we're going through this, while I'm working remotely, even though my legs aren't working, the city remains in good hands. Thank you and good night. Yeah.
Where do you start? Right? Like, where do you start? First of all, whoever advised him to do that, they should be gone immediately. Because I know what he was trying to convey. What he was trying to convey is that he's on the mend and he's doing well. But when you look at him, he does not look like he's doing well at all. And the visual is always more important than what people say, especially when the public is interpreting stuff like this. So I watched this, and my first thought was, boy, I hope he's not lying. I hope he is doing better, because it doesn't look like he's doing better. Right. And quite frankly, and again, I'm going to say this, I'm not a big fan of Neil anymore, and we've had issues, but that has nothing to do with whether or not I want him to get better. I do want him to get better. However, and it's a tough topic because I don't want people to say, oh, you're kicking the guy while he's sick. But I don't know how you run a city from a hospital bed or from a rehab bed. I don't know how you run a city remotely. I mean, you can do that temporarily, maybe for a few weeks. But how do you do that, like, on a regular basis? Like, how do you do that indefinitely? I can't imagine that all of the work that needs to be done to keep the city of Methuen going the way that it should be. I don't see how that can work with a guy that's like doing it from a hospital bed or a rehab bed. And again, this is not to kick the guy while he's down, but he's also running for re-election. And I'm not sure who's advising him. It certainly isn't me, because if it was me, I would be telling him, I don't know that you should be running for re-election. I mean, how horrible would it be to run for re-election in that condition and then lose? I know that there's a number of people who have told me, no, Tom, he's not going to run. His ego will not let him not run. I don't believe for a minute he's not running. But if he doesn't run, you know that this is going to be like a clown car. If he doesn't run, you're going to have almost every member of the city council is going to be running for that spot. In fact, I think whether he runs or not, I think Jessica's going to run. That's from what I'm hearing. I think Jessica Finicaro is going to run. And she would do a good job as mayor. I think she'd be a good mayor. I don't know that she can get there, though. You're going to have Steve Saber will throw his name in. The minute Neil says he's not running, Saber will throw his name in. I'm hearing Samad might throw his name in. I know Jessica's going to run. McCarty ran for state rep, so he's obviously looking for something else, so he may run. And the only person that I actually think should run, who I think would be a great mayor, is not running, and that's Eunice Ziegler, the city council president. Like, she's one of the few people on that council that has no agenda at all. Like, she's one of the few people on that council that literally does judge everything based on the merits of each proposal that comes before her on the council table. I think Jessica kind of does that too. But for the most part, guys on that city council are voting against something because the person who made the motion, they don't like them, or they don't like the people involved, or any of that stuff. It's going to be a very crowded field if Neil doesn't run, and I don't know how he does. Quite frankly, I don't know how he runs. It's physically taxing, and I'm understating it because I've run for office before, and I didn't run for mayor, but I ran citywide for school committee in Lawrence. To run a citywide election of any kind is physically taxing. It's physically stressful, and I know a lot of people who do it and have physical issues afterwards because of all the stress. And, people attack your family, people attack you personally. It's a lot of late nights, it's a lot of debates, it's a lot of handshaking, it's a lot of knocking on doors. And I don't know that he's capable of doing that. I don't. Now, could he win anyways if he runs from a hospital bed? Yeah, he probably could. He probably could. Because the elderly love this guy, partly thanks to me. Not that I ever got the thanks out of it, but the elderly love this guy. They see him as one of them, and they're cheering him on. And even though he's obviously not physically capable of doing the job, I'm just going to say what everybody else is thinking and is afraid to say it. He's obviously not physically capable of doing the job. He still could run and win from a hospital bed, and I'm just going to say that right out. I think he could. How horrible would it be if he didn't, though? I mean, I think you talk about stress on someone's body. To run a campaign to put up with all that stress and then not win would physically be debilitating, I think, to Mr. Perry. But we do wish him well. I really honestly think he should probably just step aside. I've been holding on to that for a while because you know how my enemies in Methuen are going to take that and twist it about how I'm kicking the guy while he's down. And we all know the people involved that are going to take what I say and they're going to try and make me look like the bad guy. I really don't care if you try to make me look like the bad guy. I'm just really saying what I really believe, and what I really believe is the guy should step aside. DJ Beauregard, not a big fan, but he stepped in, and he was acting mayor for, I think, about a month or so. Everyone that I spoke with at City Hall said, even there's two people in City Hall that really don't like DJ, who said, I ran into them one day, and they said, yeah, you know what, I don't like the guy, but boy, the guy's stepping up. He's really doing a decent job. I think he should step aside, let DJ be the acting mayor. And then we all know DJ wants to be mayor, like in the worst way, like the guy can taste it. And I think DJ is going to run if Neil doesn't run. And quite frankly, the game that might be getting played here, because this is politics, is Neil might be telling people he's running, only so that at the very last minute he doesn't turn his papers in, and they put in DJ so that DJ has less competition. It's going to be very interesting mayor's race. It's going to be very interesting council race. The city council in Methuen, I think 7 of the 9 councilors, I think I have that right, 6 or 7 of the 9 councilors can't run again. They're termed out. So you're going to have a whole new council come January, and we are going to try to have some debates here. We'll have some of the candidates on so that you guys know where they stand on stuff, and hopefully they will come in. If they don't, it's at their own peril. That's all I'm going to say. So look at that. We finished before the 0 mark today. How often does that happen?
I'm proud of you.
How often does that happen? I know that I can already, if you listen really carefully, you can hear people in Methuen City Hall writing the hate mail. Duggan said Perry should die. That's what I'm going to be getting in my inbox later on.
Oh, boy.
Want to thank McLennan Real Estate, Century 21, JG's Ice Cream, Pleasant Valley Landscaping, AFC Urgent Care, the Mercurio Law Office, Clear Path for Veterans New England, Tomo and Shaken Seafood, Borelli's. You got to try the spinach ravioli. I haven't talked about that in a while. It's actually really good. I grabbed it by accident. I thought I was grabbing the butternut squash ravioli, and I grabbed the wrong one day. That's usually how I end up finding new things that I like by mistake. And it was really good. Not to mention the really hot sausages. And by the way, go in and say hi to Don Smeriglio. He's a pretty good guy. Marsan and Son Construction, the Zanny Pesci Law Office, And I think I already said McLennan Real Estate, Tomo, and Shaken Seafood. Did we get everybody? AFC, JG's. Yep, we did. I want to thank Chrissy, my fine producer.
You're welcome.
Does a great job every week.
Do what I can.
And next week, we're going to have a kind of an explosive political show.
Oh, my favorite.
I'm going to be coming in with the salaries of the people in Methuen and how much they're making. And we're going to compare it to like a couple of years ago when city councilors and the mayor were pounding their fists saying, this can't stand. We cannot have this. And now they're doing the same thing. Melvin Taylor says you got to go home. So go home already.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.